The work I do in the community is that of providing leadership to I Am Able, a Center for Family Development, which is the only indigenous mental health agency on the west side of Chicago. And it is faith based, and I'm really excited about that because we're able to give families the best of both worlds. Should they want the spiritual stuff, they can get all of that so that they can be whole. It makes the healing quicker.
Well, my professional life is teaching. I have an elementary ed degree, and I've taught kindergarten, fourth grade, English as a second language at Daly College. Currently, I'm employed at a preschool and teach there part-time. Community-wise, all my involvement in Lawndale is through our church, Lawndale Christian Community Church. My husband is the pastor, and the thing I often end up doing the most in my own church are things that involve teaching, like teaching Sunday school, women's ministry. I do a church doctrine class, what we believe is a church, Bible studies. Back in the day, at the very beginning, I taught women's aerobics, and now we have our big fitness center. It's much more professional, but and then I've done some intensive teachings. One called Stephen Ministry, where it's for caregivers. I went and got training, came back and did the training here. And I did another intensive one called Alternatives to Violence.
Being available for our families, and also the progenitor of the Trim movement here in North Lawndale. And it is a place where we are starting the movement, but we know it won't end there. We have 44 8-block sectors to cause that to be streamed out into, to bring down trauma and violence 8 blocks at a time. We're dealing with trauma from finance to romance so that families can be made whole and we can stop hurting each other. Promoting the opportunity for people of color to stop being victims and become victors, and that Black Lives Matter no matter who's on the other side. And we have to love one another and to bring down and do damage, and have zero tolerance for us being held captive by anybody except that which is positive and is going to cause us to be able to walk in our greatness.
I actually thought I was going to be a teacher. And I was just one of those people that knew from a very young age that was what I was interested in, and that was maintained, and I ended up becoming a teacher. The big surprise for me was I never anticipated being a pastor's wife. So I don't know if many girls dream of that, but I certainly had not. And that became the path that God kind of put on me, and I accepted the call.
Well, I believe every great movement had a woman behind it somewhere. And I believe that's why when God made man, he couldn't finish the work until the woman was here. He said because they need some help, right? and we are helpers. And I believe that because of the level of innocence that is still in women, that God is going to use us to help change the trajectory of what has happened in our communities, in our homes, and in our nation. And that's without pushing our men out, because we so desperately need them to be the kings that they are. And so when women are strengthened, our families are made better, our men are helped, and our communities become richer, because now all of us are working together as a team. So we're not walking behind anyone, we're not walking in front of anyone, we're walking on the side, hand in hand, doing this thing together, because now we can all see the vision of where we need to be going.
God, wanted to serve God with my life, not knowing what that would be. And then I met my husband and found him to be a very strong man of God. We were drawn to each other and ended up getting married in 1977. And one of the reasons we got married, and we put this on our invitation, is we felt we could serve God better as two, as a couple, than we could individually. So that's really been our philosophy from the beginning, is that we're a partner, and we're partners, we're a team. And so over these 40 years, we've viewed it that way. Now, he's more hands-on. I'm involved in many things, but not everything. But we certainly talk about almost everything at home, and have made a lot of decisions in our living room on our knees praying. So we got married and then moved to Lawndale. I moved to Lawndale. I was teaching in Ohio. I was from Indiana, and I moved here with my husband, who'd already been here for 2 years teaching and coaching at Farragut High School. And he had a high school Bible study going, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, with his athletes. So when I came and we were married, we bought a building that's right on Ogden Avenue here. God's providence that all this would end up being on Ogden Avenue. We started out with a very humble building with a storefront. And we had kids come over, and I started inviting the girls that I got to know, mostly girlfriends of the football players and the wrestlers. So they came over. Our apartment was upstairs. We had a weight machine downstairs. And we were getting frustrated. A lot of the kids were committing their lives to the Lord, but they didn't want to go to church anywhere. So we said, let's do a 3-week study, really talk about God's hearts for the church. And once you commit your life to Him, that's where He wants you to be. So we did a 3-night study, him with the boys, me with the girls. At the end of the 3rd week, the girls said to me, well, Ann, you said we don't need a fancy building, right? I said, yeah. And we don't need fancy clothes, right? I said, yeah. And we don't need a lot of money to put in the offering. I said, yeah. They said, well, can't we just come here on Sunday mornings? So we got together after the kids went home. My husband says to me, you are not going to believe what the boys said to me tonight. They said almost the exact same thing to him as the girls did to me. We had no intention of starting a church. We loved youth ministry. My husband loved teaching and coaching. I was teaching kindergarten. So this was really God's idea. And we felt the Holy Spirit spoke through those high school kids. So that's how it got started. And that's how I ended up in Lawndale.